What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. It's Tuesday, which means it's time for a tier list Tuesday. And with the blockbuster Cutter Gauthier trade going down yesterday, I think the Anaheim Ducks probably have the best U-23 forward core in the entire NHL of Gauthier, Carlson, McTavish, and Zegras. Zegras might get traded, and a bunch of other studs, second and third round studs. But I thought I'd expand it for this tier list and do more so of a U-25 tier list. So we have more NHL players to base this off. It's not just basically my prospect pools, but only forward. So we were doing the top or tier listing U-25 forward cores. Some guys in 2017 aren't going to count. That's the cutoff. Some of these guys are turning 25 this season. Pettersson turned 25. Nico Hischier turned 25. And I'll mention any other guys when we get to certain teams, whether or not they did count. So without further ado, let's dive into it. You know the drill. We got good, we got great, good, solid, meh, and bad. Those are the five that I usually roll with. And up first, the Anaheim Ducks. I mean, I already said that I love their U-23. They don't have any guys that are 24 right now or 23. Zegras is about to turn 23 in a couple months, but they have that fantastic four that just makes it great, in my opinion. Those are all four potential all-star level players to play in your top six. It's really an embarrassment of riches. I'm also going to go great for the Arizona Coyotes. You look at it, Logan Cooley obviously has taken that next step. Michelli, yet again, on pace for like 65 goddamn points. Dylan Guenther just got called up. He was their 2021 11th overall pick. He was around point per game in the AHL. And then as for prospects, they got Daniil Boot, who's putting up around over half a point per game in the KHL right now, as well as a guy like Connor Geekie that has been balling out in the WHL around 2 points per game. Just had a pretty solid tournament for Canada. Obviously got ejected with that one bullshit call. But they have five very, very good pieces. Two of those are NHL proven. Dylan Guenther's AHL proven. I think he's going to have a seamless transition to the NHL. Even at 15 points in 33 games last year, so he has some NHL experience. I love the Coyotes forward core as of right now. Boston Bruins, bad. Thinking of it, it's Fabian Lysell, who's in the AHL right now, and Matt Pontra. Pontra can develop into an eventual stud, but there's not a lot of names. Obviously, this team is very much win-now mode. Buffalo, also great. I'm kind of knocking. There's only like 5 or 6 teams that are going to be in great. But when looking at Buffalo, Dylan Cousins, JJ Peterka has exploded, probably going to breeze past 55 points. Zach Benson, Matthew Savoy, Yuri Kulich. It is insane. And I'm probably forgetting a name or two as well. I'm not going to forget his name. Johnson. Why am I blanking on his name? Jack Quinn, not Johnson. Jack Quinn. They also have Jack Quinn, who just got back from a torn Achilles. So it is absolutely loaded, even without including Tage Thompson and Alex Tuck. They are loaded in terms of a forward core. Flames, I'm going to go with a solid. Yeah. I mean, Sam Honzik, Matthew Coronado, Connor Zary, Suniev, the guy that they drafted in the third round most recently. Pospistol's been very good as well. I believe he's under 25. It's a very solid U-25 forward core. I don't think there's a single like superstar player in there, like the ones that you'll see in good and great, but it's all going to be eventual good middle sixers. They definitely need that Celebrini kind of franchise guy to really take him to the next level, but right now it's solid. Carolina Hurricanes, good. Svechnikov's still under 25. He's only 23, I think. So Jarvis as well, Kakaniemi, Bradley Nadeau coming up. They are still very, very good in terms of their young forward core. Their defense is kind of starting to get up there in age, but right now the forward core is still pretty youthful, even with Sebastian Aho being 26 or 27 years old. The Blackhawks, I might get shit for this. I gotta value the NHL, like how they've played at the NHL level, more than the potential. So I'm going to put them in solid right now, because right now in terms of the NHL level, it's really just Connor Bedard in terms of an NHL proven forward. Reichel has not really panned out to what we expected this year. Kurashev, I believe, is under 25, but I think he's much more of a product of Connor Bedard. And when looking at it, Oliver Moore, Frank Nazar, they could end up being very solid pieces, but am I ready to say right now that they're going to be NHL studs? Not quite ready to go there. After they have another top 5 pick, probably take a forward, as well as the Tampa Bay Lightning's first round pick this year, which is probably going to be around 11 through 15 if they get a forward there too. They're going to shoot up, but right now they don't have the NHL experience, so I can't put them that high. Colorado, especially after trading Newhook, Callum Ritchie's like their best forward prospect. They have the one guy in the KHL, but overall, it's pretty bad. Columbus, also great. All these early teams have great goddamn forward cores. You look at it, Fantilli, Marchenko, DeMay over in the QMJHL. Kent Johnson, the guy I said before, I almost said Kent Johnson instead of Jack Quinn. Did I mention Marchenko, Voronikov? They are really loaded in terms of their forward core. They also have, obviously, David Jiricek and Denton Matachuk coming up in a couple of years. So I think they have a fantastic future. They'll probably fumble it because they are Columbus, but right now it is loaded. Dallas, I might have to go, not a ton of quantity, but Robertson does count. They got Wyatt Johnston. They got Stankoven. They got Bork. Robertson was playing to the level that he was last year. I would definitely have them in great. I'm going to go great. I hate to do this. Detroit, I'm going to be lower on Detroit than most. I'm going to go meh. Lucas Raymond's a stud, but beyond that, Veleno's having a decent season. Danielson's not doing that good in the WHL for his draft year +1. Marco Kasper wasn't really producing at a high level in the AHL. Obviously, their forward core is fine overall because DeBrinket's like 26, Larkin's 27 or 28. It's like they still have a good forward core. They have a fantastic defensive core. If we were doing this for defense core, it would be in great with Sider, Pelika, and Edvinson, no doubt. But I think for the forward core, it is pretty underwhelming in terms of their young forwards right now. Edmonton, bad. It's like Dylan Holloway and Xavier Bourgault. It's really nothing much. Florida, Anton Lundell, Mackie Samskovich, Jack Devine is a pretty interesting prospect. But when looking at them right now, it's not a ton of... Most of their core is between the ages of like 25 to 28 right now, 2012 to 2014 draft. They're more in win now mode. They don't have those elite prospects. LA, solid. Byfield, Lafreniere, not Lafreniere. He's been okay at the NHL level as of right now. Cohen Zimmer's a guy that they picked up in the draft, like the third round, that kind of fell to them. I think he's a solid prospect. Kaliev still counts towards this, half a point per game winger. So I think between Byfield and Kaliev, those are two... I think Byfield's going to be a stud. Kaliev is probably going to be a good second liner, so I'll put them in solid. Minnesota, great, man. Marco Rossi and Boldy at the NHL level, absolutely killing it. Danila Yurov on pace with guys like Kaprizov, Tarasenko, and Panarin in terms of his KHL numbers. Liam Ogren had a pretty solid tournament. I just forgot to even mention Noah Ostlund when it comes to Buffalo. Buffalo is freaking loaded. But Minnesota Wild, yeah, Danila Yurov's killing it. A guy like Petrovsky for Slovakia was leading the goddamn World Juniors 6th-round pick in 2022. They are loaded in terms of their forward core. Charlie Schrommel, I'm not that high on. He was their first-round pick in 2023. But still, just another name to add to them. They are disgustingly loaded in terms of their forward core. It's great. Montreal Canadiens, this might be too many and great because Montreal, the thing is, I don't think they have any superstars, but Caulfield counts. Suzuki does count in this. Doc, I still think, is going to be a very good player once he gets back from injury. Slavkovsky is developing pretty nicely ever since he went to that first line. I'm going to have to bump at least one of these teams down, I think, but I really like these forward cores. Joshua Waugh's been good. They have a lot of their guys are at the NHL level and playing at a pretty high level. So I think Philip Machar was very good in the World Juniors. I think you got to put him in great. I think they have a great young forward core as of right now. Nashville gets a solid. They got guys like Matthew Wood, Luke Evangelista at the NHL level is playing very good. Tomasino, Joakim Kamel, Aiden Fink. Not a ton of NHL proven legit stars, but I think they do have a solid forward core. Devils is a weird one. Nico Hischier doesn't count. So I'm just going to put him in good because although Jack Hughes is the best U24 player in the entire goddamn NHL, because Makar, maybe even U25. Yeah, U25 because Makar's 25. But yeah, he's like the best young player in the entire NHL. But considering Hischier doesn't count, it's really just beyond that. It's Dawson Mercer and Alexander Holtz. Mercer has had a bit of a third-year slump after having 57 points last year. Holtz is playing a little bit better, but I think past Hughes, there's not a ton of quantity, definitely, and the quality isn't that good. My New York Islanders, bad. Simon Holmstrom's really been surprising this year, but you look at it, Oliver Wahlstrom never quite panned out like we were expecting as that elite goal scorer. And then you got guys like at Bridgeport, like William Dufour, Matthew Maggio. They all had fantastic CHL final years, like players of the year in their league at like age 20, but really haven't been producing that high of a level at Bridgeport. So we'll definitely see how it develops. But right now, I'd go bad. Rangers, Solid. I'm actually going to go with solid because you look at him. Lafreniere has really came along. He's at least a second liner at this point. I still think Capo Caco's much better than what he displayed this year for the New York Rangers. And then Brendan Ottman's been pretty solid since in a couple games. I think he just got sent down actually, but I looked at solid at the NHL level, was producing at a very high level in the AHL. Obviously, Gabriel Perreault's coming up. I think he's one of the top 15 best prospects in the entire NHL. So they actually have a pretty solid young forward core. Will Cooley is looked very good in a bottom six role. I think he's going to develop pretty nicely, so it's good. Ottawa, this is a great forward core because most of their forwards count towards this forward core. Brady Tkachuk's 24. Josh Norris is still 24 years old. Stützle, obviously only 21. And then Pinto and Gregg are also future, at least second liners, in my opinion. So you got a superstar in Stützle, star in Tkachuk, very good second line center in Norris, as well as two other pieces. I think it's got to be in great, even though the Senators on the whole kind of suck. Their top end young talent is very impressive in terms of a forward core. Philadelphia, I'm going to go with good. They got a lot of names. Owen Tippett still counts for this. Joel Farabee's really had a bounce back year after having two kind of disappointing seasons for the Flyers. Tyson Forster's been very good for the Philadelphia Flyers. Bobby Brink in his rookie year. Obviously, Michkov counts a lot towards this, as well as they got Massimo Rizzo, who's leading the entire college hockey in points per game right now. He is 22 years old, but he was a nice piece that they picked up. Denver Barkey looks like a good forward. So even with without Cutter Gauthier, I still think they have a very solid young forward core. The defense is a little bit scary. Yes, they did get Bonk. Yes, they have Drysdale. I think they need to focus on the defense with one of their firsts. Do they have two firsts? With their first this year, get a defenseman, but it's pretty solid. Pittsburgh, bad. At the NHL level, I don't even think they have a U-20. Oh, I think they have one like Finnish player who's like okay, but it's really just Braden Yeager in terms of prospects, so it's pretty bad. San Jose, I'm going to go with good. Yeah, because William Eklund has really came on most recently, playing much better. He was their 7th overall pick back in 2021. I think he's going to be very good. Will Smith was my number 3 or number 2 prospect in all of the NHL. I think he's going to be a stud. Quinnen Musty was a really good pickup. I didn't think Philip Bistad had the best World Juniors, but he was definitely solid. So I think in terms of their young guys have a shit ton of potential. I think Eklund and Smith can be a duo that could potentially win you a Stanley Cup in 5-6 years. So I'm pretty high on them. The Seattle Kraken, also a very good young forward core. You could maybe put him in great. Beniers is the only guy at the NHL level that's really dominating in terms of their forward core. So I have a hard time putting them in great. But when you look at the raw amount of studs that they have dominating overseas or in juniors, Carson Raykoff, arguably the best player in the OHL this year. Yanni Neiman playing fantastic in Liga. Jagger Furcus playing great in the WHL. They have just a bunch of very, very good players. And, of course, Shane Wright and Edward Chalet. You could definitely put them in great. They're just not proven enough, in my opinion. So as of right now, I'm going to keep them in good. St. Louis also gets good. Robert Thomas does count in this, which is massive. Jake Neighbors is having a pretty solid first full season in the NHL. And then you look at it, Snuggerud, stud, just had a hat trick at the college level immediately after having a fantastic World Juniors tournament. Otto Stenberg, who was Dalibor Dvorsky. It's a very good young forward core, and I think going forward it's going to be nice. Tampa Bay Lightning, bad. They have Ethan Gauthier and Isaac Howard, but those are really only prospects. I don't think they have anybody at the NHL level that's of note below the age of 25, so I'm going with bad. Meh. Toronto Maple Leafs, Matthew Nyes I think is going to be a very good young piece. Easton Cowan and... why am I blanking on his name? Fraser Minnan, Canada's captain. They're solid pieces, but it's definitely a below average forward core. Canucks are low-key bad. It's really just Hoglander and Lekkerimaki, and I think Lekkerimaki is going to be a stud, but no NHL proven guys really besides Hoglander. It's disappointing. The Vegas Golden Knights, bad. They don't really have anybody at the NHL level producing below the age of 25, so it's pretty bad. Capitals, I'm going to say solid. No, they have a lot of... Ryan Leonard's definitely their prized possession right now. Ivan Miroshchenko, I think I pronounced that right, probably not. He's been pretty solid in the AHL, got the call up. They got guys like Connor McMichael, Andrew Crystal, obviously taken the second round most recently. They have it's a decent quantity of guys, but I don't think besides Ryan Leonard, none of them have that high potential. Alexei Protas as well. I'm gonna bump them up to solid. Screw it. And then the Winnipeg Jets get a good. When you look at it, Cole Perfetti counts towards this. Gabe Vilardi counts towards this. Then they got guys like Brad Lambert, Colby Barlow, Rucker McGrody. That is a pretty disgusting 5-man forward core. So overall, this is it. I don't have a ton of teams, and it's really just a lot of bad teams, a couple solid and a couple great ones in my opinion. I would probably, if I had to bump one of these down, I would honestly maybe bump Chicago to meh, but I'd get killed for that. I think it's solid. Who cares? Let me know in the comments. What do you think? And I'll be seeing the next one. Maybe I'll make a Zegras video up next. But yeah, be seen in the next one.